giving the presentations on behalf of the Codes Department today in this hearing. The procedure today will be to go through our agenda as printed in the, and we've got copies on the tables to the left of you where you're sitting. I do have some preliminary announcements that do affect what cases will be heard today. We do have several that are not going to be heard today for various reasons, and I'll go over each one of them first. But kind of the process of what happens, I will go first as the Codes Department staff, and I'll put on the big screen here above the members a presentation of what the request is, what you're asking for, any site plans you've submitted for your request. I'll explain to the board what the zoning code requires and what you're asking for. And then I'll ask if on this particular case that I'm calling, if there's any opposition to a case, and we'll see hands from opposition present. And depending on if there's opposition or no opposition, if a case doesn't have opposition, you'll have 5 minutes to present your case to the board, and you'll come forward at the table sitting in the center of the meeting room there. There are four chairs should you need them. To the right of where you'll be sitting is that clock that I will fix to keep from ticking over there. But that's where we'll keep track of your time to present. What you do when you come forward, you'll give us your name and your street address where you live, and kind of introduce yourself to the board. And once you start with your testimony, I'll start that clock countdown, and it will stop for any questions that board members ask of you. They're allowed to ask you a question at any time. So if they have a question kind of mid your presentation, I'll stop that clock, go ahead and answer their question, and once you get back into testifying, I'll start the clock back up. If there's opposition to a case, so the process is still the same, except both sides of the case, both the applicant and the opposition, get 10 minutes to present their case. Now that's 10 minutes per group, not per speaker. So if you've got multiple folks that want to come talk to the board today, either for or against something, you'll need to divide up your time accordingly. The same rules will apply. I'll start the clock after you introduce yourself. I'll stop it for any questions and answers. So the process, just kind of recapping, I'll go first and explain what the case is before the board, and the applicant will come first and explain what they're wanting the board to approve or what they're seeking approval from. And then the applicant in a case with opposition will want to save some of their 10 minutes to rebut the testimony of the opposition. So applicant steps away, the opposition comes up, says what they want to say. In the opposition, you get one chance to talk to the board, and it's during that time. Excuse me. Then after the opposition steps away, the applicant will come back for a rebuttal period to address the things raised by the opposition during rebuttal. So once all that time's elapsed, the board will close the public hearing. The members sitting before you will discuss the case in front of you, and then they'll make a decision one way or the other in front of you today. Currently, I have 4 members present. I am expecting a 5th member to arrive. But to get your vote, to get your request approved today, you need 4 affirmative votes to grant your case. So you need 4 out of the 5 or 4 out of 4 for the folks that are present today, if I only have 4 members. So you need 4 yes votes. So what happens if I don't get 4 affirmative votes? So let's say we have just 4 members here or 5, and you get a vote of something like 2-4 or 2 for your request or 3 against your request, that case will be deemed tied up on votes. So a tied case, what happens is your case will stay on our agenda for the next 30 days, and we'll have 2 meetings in the next 30 days. At the next meeting, the members who are not present will watch today's proceedings on YouTube and affirm with me that they've watched and they've caught up with the other members, and then they can participate in the next case and then vote on your case to break the tie that's there. If after 30 days your case is still tied up on a vote, your case is deemed denied by operation of Metro law. So we've covered those 2 things. Our process here right after this part, the board will hear from council members who are present. I do see a council member present who'd like to address the board. We do allow the council members to address the body here to make any statements one way or the other, depending on their statements, whether they're in support or opposition to a case, we'll deduct time accordingly from that side, from the council member statement. So for the council members from years past, we used to let you just speak as long as you want to, but unfortunately, the membership decided to amend their rules and put you on a clock as well. So they figured they'll let you talk as long as you want to on Tuesday nights or tonight, I guess, is your meeting, so at the council. But and then once the council member speaks, if they wish to at the time at the beginning of the meeting, or they can wait until the case they're interested in to speak, they can speak then. But after that, I'll go through what's called, I'll go through some preliminary announcements of cases that won't be heard because they're postponed or deferred or withdrawn. After that sequence, I'll go through cases that are recommended for what's called a consent agenda by the chair. And the chair today, Ms. Karpanack, reviews cases before this meeting, and if, in her opinion, your case meets the request you're asking for, and they feel that testimony doesn't alter the material facts of the case, they'll recommend that case for consent to the remaining members present. Those remaining members, along with Ms. Karpanack, will vote in consent. A unanimous vote means your case will be approved at the beginning of the meeting. You'll be free to go. If it's not on consent, we'll hear it in the order that it's listed here. And I know I've said a lot, but we'll circle back to it when the time comes. So those are our preliminary announcements. Just to remind you that this board is empowered to act on the cases before us as outlined in Section 1740 of the Metro Code of Law and 137207 of the state law. The code requires that 4 members be present to constitute a quorum. I have 5 members present today, so you will need, like I said before, you'll need 4 affirmative votes to grant your case for you to be approved today. In the event your case does tie today, we'll talk about what happens next at that time. Let me just go ahead, if I could, council member. I think you're here for a case that is on our.
That's right, 64.
64, okay. Well, if you would like to go ahead and approach the table and address to the board, you're on case 64.
Can you hear me now? Okay. I get 10 minutes, is that correct? Yeah. Okay, I get this. Hey, thanks for everything you do. I'll make it relatively quick. I did walk this property. This lot is sandwiched between a couple of lots. I think it's not only the wrong thing in terms of setback, it's environmentally very difficult for this to happen. You have a steep grade that comes into a little platform lot that when water comes, it comes aggressively down that, almost like a waterfall, and the neighbors would be heavily impacted by all the water that comes off of the stormwater. I think there's springs there. Their neighbors already have significant problems from this area, and I'll let them detail all the information. But I sent a letter also. I just want to let you know that I'm definitely against this particular recommendation. Thank you very much. 1 minute.
All right, members, we'll just making a note of the time remaining for the opposition's turn when we get to it, that case. Let me reset and. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so first with some preliminary announcements, there are some cases that are going to be postponed by the board itself due to lack of a quorum. These cases, unfortunately, ran into such fate at our last meeting of April the 16th. These will be continued for one additional meeting. That will be the 21st of May in this room at 1 p.m. Those cases, we'll make sure on that docket that those cases are moved to the front of the line, that we'll hear those cases first and before we get into our regular agenda that day. So if you are here for cases 2026-001 for the property at 7531 Bidwell Road, if you're here for case 2026-19 for the property at 1711 A and B River Drive, if you are here for case 2026-38 for the property at 3824 Brick Church Pike, those 3 cases will be postponed until the meeting of March the 21st
May, do you mean May the 20th?
May, excuse me, I sit here, I'm looking at 5/21 on my thing, but for some reason my brain said March. May the 21st, again, cases 1, 19, and 38 will be in this room at 1 p.m. on the 21st. And so those cases will not be heard by this board today due to lack of a quorum. Okay. The next set of cases will also not be heard today, but for various reasons, and I'll cover those when I get to them. Let's see here. This will be on the on page 3 of our agenda at the bottom, case 57, Four Stone Capital at 1218 Dickerson Pike. The board had testimony in April and asked the applicant for some additional information. Board, you postponed this for one meeting. They're going to need a second to get that information to you. So we've handled administratively a postponement till May 21st. I don't need a motion for that. We've handled that. But if you're here for case 57 at 1218 Dickerson Pike, that will also be heard on May the 21st. Behind that group of 3 we talked about previously. The next announcement is case on page 5, the top 2026-62, Tawanda Heath, owner, operator of the property at 809 Red Fern Court. Ms. Heath has withdrawn her request for a home daycare at that location. So that case has been withdrawn by the applicant and will not be heard today. Also on page 5, 2026-63 at the middle, T.N. Tran, the owner of the property at 7166 River Road Pike, has postponed until May the 21st. And on our last page, page 6 rather, in the center of the thing, case 2026-66 Tahoe Ridge LLC, Luann Newsom Revocable Trust, the owner of the property at 702 Bowling Avenue. That case has been postponed until June the 4th. That's our next meeting. 2 meetings from now. And that case will be heard on June the 4th. That's case 66. And is the applicant present on case 67 on 2400 Alameda Street? All right, sir. I had the council member reached out to our office. NDOT has expressed some concerns about site visibility on that corner. Are you agreeable to postpone for a meeting or two to discuss with NDOT their concern? Well, you may proceed. The board may wish to postpone since NDOT has expressed some site visibility concerns. Okay. Yeah, as far as proceeding or postponing? Well, it would be at its normal spot on the agenda. We'll have to hear that. Or in between cases, if you want to come, I'm happy to discuss with you. Okay, all right. Okay, so case 67, for now, we'll proceed with that case. So just recapping from the beginning, cases 1, 19, 38, 57, 62, 63, and 66 will not be heard today. So if you're here for any of those cases I just called, you are free to go. I will also invite you to stay with us and hear the other cases that will be before us. And people are staying, so I'm excited. All right. No one usually stays. All right, so our first case that we'll hear in public hearing today will be on page 2. It'll be in the center of page 2. It's case 2026-22, Jamie and Elizabeth Givens, owners of the property at 4510 Elkins Avenue, requesting a variance.
Excuse me, Mr. Hargis, do we have a consent agenda?
Oh, sorry, you're right. My apologies. See, I'm just getting ahead of guys. I apologize. I had a very short night. I know nobody wants to know this, but I'm the owner of 10 cows that decided last night that they wanted to get out and roam the neighborhood. So I spent much of my evening rustling them back into and fixing fences till 1 o'clock in the morning. So if I'm a little out of it, forgive me. All right. Yes, we do have a consent agenda. So as I talked about before, we do have a consent agenda. So prior to today's meeting, Ms. Carpenter reviewed the cases remaining, and if, in her opinion, that case met the criteria for a consent, and they feel that testimony would not alter the material facts of the case, she's recommended the following cases that I'm going to call for approval here in a voice vote at the beginning. So if you are here in opposition to the cases that I'm about to call, and only in opposition, if you'll raise your hand, please, what will happen, I will pull that case from the consent agenda, and we'll hear the case in the order listed in the agenda listed before us. So the first case that is recommended for the consent agenda is on page 4, and it's at the top of page 4. Christian Bush, the appellant and owner of the property at 7604 Gerald Drive, requesting a variance in the rear setback requirements in RS-40 to allow the legal use of a building constructed by a previous owner. Are there any parties present in opposition to case 58 on Gerald Drive? Okay, seeing no hands, the next case recommended for consent is case 2026-60, David Shipman, the COO, the YMCA, the owner of the property at 3130 Smith Springs Road, requesting a special exception to allow new construction of single-family residences and a variance in the landscape buffer in the agricultural district. Are there any parties present in opposition to case 60 on Smith Springs Road? Okay, seeing no hands. The next case recommended for the consent agenda is case 2026-61, again on page 4. Abby Carroll's the appellant, Emma Hollis, the owner of the property at 605 South 19th Street, requesting an item D appeal to change the legally non-conforming use. They're actually adding a non-conforming structure on the property to sell coffee. Are there any parties here in opposition to case 61 at 605 South 19th Street, also known as Roy's Meat Service? Okay. Chair, seeing no hands, so we'll move along. The next case recommended for the consent agenda is on page 6. And this will be at the top of page 6, case 2026-65. Mr. John Cooper is the appellant on behalf of the Reed District Landco Partners, LLC, the owner of properties at 1525 Church Street and the parcels listed below that. So there are numerous parcels in this part of town. And they were approved for a special exception request in 2024. They are seeking reapproval. This board's approval is valid for 2 years unless construction begins. Construction is not quite underway yet at this site, so they're seeking reapproval. Are there any parties present in opposition to case 65 for the properties along Church Street? Seeing none. Okay. And that, Madam Chair, is your consent agenda. So recapping consent, cases 58, 60, 61, and 65.
Okay, do we have a motion on consent agenda?
I move to approve our consent agenda items.
Is there a second? A second. Okay, there's a motion, a second. Any discussion on consent? Okay, all in favor, say aye, raise your hand. Okay, so we have 5, 4, and 0 against, so
Okay.
that passes.
If you are here for cases 58, 60, 61, and 65, your cases have been approved by this board. You are free to go. I will invite you to stay with the rest of us to watch the other proceedings that I got ahead of myself with.
And let us welcome our new board members,
Yes.
Anna and Michael. Thanks
Thank you.
for joining us.
Yeah, we do.
Glad to have you both.
For the folks that will be watching on YouTube or folks that watch live, I don't know if it's streamed live, maybe it is. But we do have 2 new members of the board, so I'll start first with the newest member sitting close to me, Miss Anna Yoder. Miss Yoder, if you don't mind, just tell a little bit about yourself and you know, what you do for your normal day job.
I'm Anna Yoder. I'm the Director of Planning and Urban Design for a firm called Hastings here in town. Been in Nashville for almost 12 years now and grew up in East Tennessee. So really excited to be a part of this board and finding new ways to serve the community.
Well, great, welcome. We're glad to have you aboard, Ms. Yoder. And to your left is Mr. Michael Garrigan. Mr. Garrigan, welcome to the Board of Zoning Appeals. If you would, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Joey. I'm Michael Garrigan. I'm one of the principals with a civil engineering firm called Dell & Associates here in town. I graduated college from Mississippi State University, grew up in Mississippi, Memphis area. And 22 years ago, my wife demanded we move to Nashville. And I say that was the greatest decision ever made for me. Happy to be here and happy to get back. Thank you.
Good, thank you. And a lot of folks don't realize that the board, members of the boards of zoning appeals are appointed by the mayor and affirmed by the city council. They are positions, volunteer, they are unpaid. They do this for a 5-year term. They're appointed by the mayor. So we welcome you guys aboard. I'm glad to have you here. So thanks, and with that, we will thank you, Ms. Carpenter, for my, I'll do better, more coffee. All right.
Just
Here-
keep those cows in the fence.
That's, I tell you what.
Fix the
If
fence.
anybody wants to buy some cows, come see me after this meeting. We'll talk. Okay, so our first case is case 2026-22, Jamie and Elizabeth Givens. Are there any parties present in opposition to the case at 4510 Elkins Avenue? Okay, seeing no hands, are the applicants present with us today? Oh, good. All right, come on forward, sir, if you would. All right. This case, since it does not have opposition, you'll have 5 minutes to present your case. Kind of like we talked about at the beginning, I'll go first and explain to the board the issues before them today, and then I'll turn it over to you to let you ask for your variance request. But Mr. Givens is seeking a variance from the fence height requirements for an opaque fence. I apologize for my typo there. Within the RS-75 district. So the applicant has an existing fence. Let me pull up the PowerPoint for you. Back up just a little bit. Okay. This is a view of the subject property. These aerial photographs provide.
We can't,
That's
we
my
can't,
house for sure. It's 22.
yeah, we can't hear the mic. I don't think the mic is.
Oh, my mic's not on. There we go. Okay, so forgive my labeling, but yes, this is case 22. The case at issue is a privacy fence that's been constructed. I'll let the gentleman talk about who constructed it or when, whether it was them or not. I'm not certain, but there is a privacy fence that you see with my red mark, and it runs parallel with the public sidewalk back to the alley and ties into the back corner of that structure. This is a view looking from Elkins Avenue, I believe, looking north towards Charlotte. You see the location of the fence. For our new members, opaque fences or solid fences are permitted in the zoning code. We didn't used to require permits of them. We do now, so we can have some discussions on the front end. But solid fences within 10 feet of the city right-of-way, which in this case, the city's right-of-way is the back of the sidewalk. Solid fences cannot be any taller than 30 inches in height. Or if you'd like a fence like this that's 6 feet tall, it has to be at least 10 feet back off the public right-of-way. In this instance, that fence would essentially be at the house. I think the house sits about 10 feet from the public right-of-way, maybe even less. I think that's an 8-foot panel. And then a view, and that would be true anywhere within 10 feet of a street right-of-way, a solid fence would be back. So this gentleman is seeking to keep the existing fence. It's been here for some time. You can probably speak to the length of it. But to give all the members thing, if you'll recall, we've had some cases on fences in this neighborhood recently, and when my inspector goes out and we get a complaint about a fence, I will go out and investigate. I do ask my inspectors to put their head on a swivel. Let's don't cite someone for a fence when the neighbor across the street has it. So we've cited numerous fences in this area. Some have complied, some have come to the zoning board. Some are still in process of dealing with them. But that's why we've had a rash of these type cases out here just south of Charlotte in this neighborhood. But I can definitely attest that fence has been there for some time, but unfortunately it does violate the code as it sits. But Gentleman here today is requesting a variance to allow that fence to be, remain where it is. And if you would, please state your name and address for the board and then give your testimony for your case, and I'll start the clock.
My name is Jamie Givens, and I'm at 4510 Elkins Avenue. We purchased our home in 2016, and there's been a high security and privacy fence in the exact same location since well before we bought it. Due to safety and privacy concerns, we would not have purchased our home without the fence, and we will have to move if required to take this fence down. Our young family has roots in Sylvan Park and do not see how this home could continue to be used as a residence by anyone without said fence. We have 3 young daughters, aged 8, 6, and 4, and our fence adds a small layer of security and privacy that is required to live on a corner lot in a high-traffic area. Our fence runs along 46th Avenue North, giving us much-needed privacy and protection from a vehicle and pedestrian thoroughfare. This is a heavily trafficked area with people out at all hours of the day and night, using the park, having dinner, and getting drinks. Richland Park and several businesses, including ML Rose Craft Beer and Burgers, and an apartment complex are located less than a block away down 46th Avenue North, where it also intersects with Charlotte Avenue, Interstate 40, and the 204A exit and entry ramps. There's also a substantial and consistent homeless population that use the parking lot at the Richland Park to live in their cars. Other unhoused persons without vehicles use the park and areas around the interstate as their homes or sleeping areas too. Directly across the street from our house is a newly opened hotel development, the Sylvan Park Boarding House, and its adjacent restaurant, Tantissimo, is also open. This has created a perfect storm of additional foot and vehicle traffic near our home on a daily basis. Tantissimo has drink specials late at night and a weekly dance party. The boarding house will have 8 suites and a yet-to-be-determined impact of more visitors to our area. We have no ill will towards any visitors or neighbors out and about enjoying all our neighborhood has to offer. We consider them neighbors or community visitors. However, our comfort with them and with living in our home is based on the security and privacy our fence provides. This security and privacy concern is further exacerbated by our oldest daughter's presence at the Covenant School on March 27th, 2023. She was in the building when a shooter murdered 3 children and 3 adults and has dealt with varying levels of PTSD in the aftermath of that experience. It is critical that our home feels safe from bad guys. The concerns we raise are not unique to us. All our family residents and neighbors have similar fences of the same height located the same distance from 46th Avenue and the alleys behind our homes. Many have already been granted variances. Requiring us to alter our fence would make us different from the other 5 family residences within sight of our home on 46th Avenue North. All have the same fence. For all the reasons given above, we sincerely believe a variance is appropriate and request to be allowed to keep our fence as it has been there for at least 15 years. Without it, we will lose our family's peaceful, private, and safe enjoyment of our home. To clarify, we want to repair the fence as well, so we've been waiting on this variance to build a new fence.
Any questions from the board?
Yes, I think there was a comment from NDOT about work with them for the visibility from alley. Did you have an opportunity to talk with the NDOT person?
I have not gotten any communications from NDOT. That's a very low traffic alley. I have pictures of the sight line. You can see 200 yards down. There's the sidewalk and the bike lane. I've lived there for 10 years. There has not been a single vehicle accident at the alley in 46th that I can remember, whereas at 46th and Elkins, there's one every 3 months or so.
Thank you.
I had a question. You stated that you were going to replace the fence?
Mm-hmm.
Same height,
Yes.
same location?
Yes.
Okay.
That's our preference. There's also a space, we are in communication with the church that is at the back of our lot, and as far as NDOT's concerned, if they would like to put a fisheye or something like that on there, I'm sure that that could be something that we could work with them on, if that would be helpful for the sightlines.
Joey, may I ask a question, please? So with the new permit process, if they were to build a new fence, they would have to go through the permit process. Our variance would only apply to this fence, right?
I missed the very last part of that. I'm sorry.
So the applicant indicated that they would like to build a new fence, and the variance is regarding this old fence. The variance process requires a permit process, right?
Typically, yes. In this, the application was filed before that permitting process existed. So
Okay.
we're kind of mesh those two processes together in this one.
Okay,
Also, I'm pretty confident in my appeal, it was specific to build a new fence.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay,
It's in there.
Okay.
It's in the verbiage that they
Okay,
want to
thank you.
replace that. Yes, ma'am.
And the current option now for building a fence in the exact same location would be that it would only be able to be 30 inches high?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
2.5 feet in height, or be an open fence.
Open fence.
A chain link or picket, so that the spaces between the pickets have to be the width of the picket itself. As part of our permitting process, NDOT will get to look at this building permit request, so it's not, I don't want this board to feel that they're kind of contingent upon NDOT making a yes or no decision on this fence construction. He's going to have to go to NDOT to seek, so they will have a discussion at some point, but he kind of needs your step of,
Why would I need to do that?
because the new fence needs a building permit, whereas the previous fence did not need a permit.
But I thought you just said this was going to be,
Can you put on your mic so we can hear you?
Yeah.
I thought you said this was going to be grandfathered into that.
Well, we're grandfathering you as far as the not having to have a building permit for a fence. But if you're taking down and reconstructing a fence, you'll have to get a permit for that.
Okay, I thought that was going to be covered by the variance, which is what I'm here to,
Right. Well,
Get, right?
Right. Yeah, the variance was part of that building permit process step. Because you're new and doesn't comply with the code, that's what you're seeking today. So the variance, if approved today, will go, we'll plug that into your building permit as a sign off of not having to need us.
okay.
It's
You're
just
talking,
new.
you're talking algebra 2, and I'm
So-
trying to just add, subtract.
It's just new regulations and we're all
Understood.
getting used to it.
What would happen in the, let's say you came to see us to build a brand new, never been a fence here before. We would do this variance request as part of that construction. What I'm doing is kind of doing the variance first and then proceeding with the permit side.
Understood.
Okay, any additional questions for the applicant? Okay, anything you'd like to say in closing?
So just to clarify, if the variance is granted, the fence that is up right now can remain? Understood. Thank you. As you can see, I just would love for y'all to turn and look at the picture. The pocket between the back of our house and our little shed is a consistent play area for my family, and having the fence there is very helpful.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing then. And any discussion?
I just wanted to speak to the site distance, as the applicant stated. In addition to the other benefits that bike lanes and sidewalks provide, they also assist with a buffer for site distance. And the photograph that was provided in the slide, it's going to be very similar from the alley as well. And it gives me more peace of mind that NDOT will have a look at this as well.
Okay, any other discussion? Any motions?
I move to approve this variance, considering this fence has been similar fashion in that particular neighborhood. And also, in the permitting process, I'll work with NDOT. That will be the part of the condition. With that, move to approve the variance.
There's a motion, any seconds?
Second?
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor, raise their hand, say aye. So we have 5, I'm sorry, Michael, did you raise your, okay, I missed that. So 5 in favor, and 0 against, so that's approved.
Thank you.
All right. Case 22 is approved on a vote of 5 and 0. All right. With that, our next case will be case 2026-48. Rajesh Kumar Vamali is the appellant and owner of the property located at 619 McGavock Pike, requesting a variance in the height frame provisions of the code, as well as a variance in the parking requirements in the CL zoning district. The applicant is seeking to construct a hotel. Are there any parties present in opposition to case 48? Do you have opposition present? Okay. Let me reset our clocks. I'll go through the appeal with the board, and then if you'd like, as far as the appellants, go ahead and come forward to the table. Okay, our next case, again at 619 McGavock Pike. This site is subject's located over in the Davidson area. This aerial photograph shows you McGavock Pike running north and south, and left to right is Elm Hill Pike. So this is at the northeast corner of Elm Hill and McGavock Pike there in Dawson. This is the subject site, which you see. The upper left-hand portion is the site plan submitted by the applicant. The applicant is showing a stream running through the site, as well as their stormwater buffers. And then the actual construction of the hotel would be along McGavock Pike, sort of pushed to the west end of this site. With that location, they are seeking a variance both in the number of parking spaces required by the code. The code requires one parking space per key or per room, as well as 2 spots for staff. So that comes out to be 135 parking spaces required. They are providing 90 on site in a parking garage located within the structure itself. And then the height control variance plane, the zoning code requires what we call a sky plane or height control plane is a subject based upon the setback. They are allowed to build a certain height at that setback and then a slope of 1.5 vertical to 1 horizontal. So for each foot I scoot back, I get to go up another 1.5 feet. And the applicant has provided you a line showing where that control plane breaks through from both the eastern and western property lines. So this would be McGavock on this side of the thing. So we would be standing on Elm Hill looking north through the building. Then another view of the subject site, and I think hotel complex just to the east. That's there. Just off the frame, there's a gas station located here. And then if you come south on McGavock, you'll go into that Century City development just south there. So, okay, that is our case records. We have it. Gentlemen, if you would please state your names for the board and your addresses and present your testimony to the board. After the applicant goes first, the opposition will have a chance to come up after them to speak for 10 minutes. And applicant sitting here, of your 10, you may want to save a portion of your 10 for rebuttal of the opposition's testimony. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, sir. If you would please identify yourself and make your presentation.
Yes, my name's Chet Rhodes. I'm with Rhodes Engineering, representing Mr. Raj here, Vamali. Let him introduce himself. My address is out of Columbia, Tennessee, 1117 Whitney Drive, Columbia. I do a lot of consulting work in Nashville, have for 38 years.
My name is Rajesh Kumar Vamali. I'm the owner of the property, and I live currently in Mount Juliet 208, Breckenridge Glen Drive in Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. And with that, you can go ahead and begin your presentation.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk about what they can see up there on the board. The first thing is this has been a very challenging site, and we've worked with Metro Stormwater for a period of over 2 years to get approval to have that little area where the building is as available space to build, to develop, to put a building. That was due to they require flood studies when there's a stream running through here. There's an unnamed tributary to Mill Creek that runs through and then hits another stream, another tributary of Mill Creek right below it. So just south of Elm Hill, there's 2 streams converging. And so the condition during a storm event is a backwater flood. It doesn't get peaked high here. It peaks down low and then backs up to the height, max height of the flow in this site area. So we have the stream with in a floodplain area. The Metro Stormwater folks, what we have before you, you can see the center of the stream if you notice that. And their top of banks are shown, and then there's a 50-foot zone 1 and a 25-foot zone 2 buffer required by Metro Stormwater, which we've met those requirements. So With that, after we had done that, we met with Mr. Hargis, and he was kind enough to listen to our proposal. This is for a 13-story hotel that would be built straight up vertically. I would want to point out the footprint of this hotel is elevated slab, 12 foot above the 100-year flood. There'll be plants and trees under this building. We are not disturbing the riparian zone, except for the column locations, which are concrete columns, so there will be that. So for that, we know we have to go back to the Stormwater Committee for the variance on the columns, but it is, and you can see it in this elevation real well there. Thank you, Joey, for that. So I wanted to explain all that and to say that parking in this area, it's one of the variances we're seeking. This is an area near the Nashville airport. Buses that will be run from the hotel to Nashville airport will eliminate some of the need for parking that we have. But we do have, with this 130-room hotel, 90 parking spaces provided. It's a valet parking inside. You drive in from McGavock on level with that McGavock Pike, go right under the building, drop your vehicle off, and then it's parked for you in the building. The first 3 floors of the building are parking. The upper floors are the hotel rooms. On the main level, there is an office and a lobby area near the parking area, but primarily the suites are above and there's parking on the lower floors. With that said, you know, we just have the 2 variance issues. I met with Joey and ran this by him, and he indicated that, you know, he thought it was a reasonable request given the restrictions we have with the site. The first one being the vertical, I call it a step back issue. We've met the requirements of the step back for the 40-foot setback from McGavock and on up to several heights of the building. We meet the step back requirement. But when you keep going, as you see, the upper floors would have no square footage on them at all if we didn't have a variance at about the where the C and the O meet on the height control word on the board that you're looking at. That's the area where we start needing a variance to have the building pass beyond that line. But at that point, we are over 60, 70 foot from McGavock Pike with that frontage of that building. So we felt like we have stepped back as far as we could and asking for that. Now, in terms of height, this height of this building is at 580. There are 3 buildings in the area higher, Marriott, and we've got a table on our plan summarizing the nearby heights. 607 is the highest building in the area, and we're near the airport, so we are always concerned with what's the height of your building and are you out of line with your height, and we're 27 foot below the building height allowed in this area, and we want to be well below it. But the reason we're so low is we're basically down in a hole to begin with, just above the 100-year floodplain, and we're going up with the structure. So the height is not an issue. We would appreciate consideration of the 2 variances, the step back issue and the parking requirement. We feel like with the Uber being a big thing now, people are taken to the hotels. We have 130 rooms, 90 parking spaces. But we feel that this is adequate for that. We've discussed it with the planning staff as well, that would it be reasonable to come with a request for a parking variance, and we're before you with their guidance, and, you know, we're taking steps that they've recommended. So I'll answer any questions that you have.
Was any formal parking traffic studies done?
There will be, and there have been preliminary and line of sight. A lot of traffic decisions have been made in our entrances, so it's been a big factor in our design. There will have to be a traffic study. If this variance are approved, we'll have to go through the normal processes, and NDOT will, they likely will require that, but they have not yet at this point. No point to do that if these 2 items aren't, you know, favorable, then we wouldn't be proceeding. But, you know, if these are favorable, then we would expect we're doing a traffic study. Yes, ma'am.
I have a staff question. If we approve the variance for the parking today and the traffic study comes back and says they should have more parking, what happens?
In that instance, if the study required more, we'd have to revisit that here. If it goes the other direction and the traffic study says they need fewer than 90, then it'll be a wash for us, but.
I have a couple of questions, Joey. Can you put the section back up?
Mhm.
Why is the rear sky plane starting at a lower elevation than the front?
The rear sky plane starts back here. This property, strangely enough, to the east is zoned residential, but it's got a commercial PUD on it. So we look at the base zoning as R, but it's really it's the same height, Mr. Garrigan, except the dirt, the land drops
Okay.
off so much.
Okay.
So, yeah, so at this point, up here, we're taking it from McGavock's grade level here.
It's based off a grade back
It is based
there.
off the grade level
Okay.
itself. That's why the difference between the two.
The next question I had has to do with the required parking. Is that taken into account any code permitted reductions?
This particular parcel is not located within the UZO. The urban zoning overlay, before the council took away all parking requirements in the UZO, allowed for reductions to parking inside the UZO, and this is located outside the UZO, so outside in the suburban area, if you will, can't take.
Maybe I should have said adjustments.
Yeah, they're not allowed.
They
to
can't
take
be
any of
applied
those.
in the UZO?
No, they can't use any of the reductions for transit lines or shared parking agreements or anything like that.
The last question I had is, have y'all discussed this with Councilman Gregg or community input at all?
Yes, we have.
Actually, Raj has attended a community meeting with the councilman and answered questions from the public. And I was not at that meeting, but that was done. And then we got feedback questions from that, and then we responded to staff with answers to those questions that we received from the community meeting. So.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a point of clarification? So
Certainly.
the property adjacent to it has a residential base zoning. Can you explain the commercial PUD that overlays that site today?
Yeah, that particular development was adopted under originally approved under the prior zoning regulations, where the city council allowed, let me give you a perfect, for instance, Old Hickory Hollow Mall. It had a commercial PUD overlay. It had massive mall, but the underlying zoning was agricultural. So now when we do, with the adoption of the 98 zoning code, we actually zone the underlying property to match the use. So if the PUD disappears, they don't have to seek a rezoning. And this one was approved pre-98.
And can you explain some of the uses that are allowed within that PUD?
Well, within this particular PUD, it's just a hotel use that was permitted by the planning department. Now, the subject side is just base zoning with no PUD.
Okay, any additional questions?
I have a question for Joey. You just said there was opposition, so we need to vacate the table?
Yes, sir, you will. You'll have
And-
441 to address the items
I
raised
think
on.
for now, that's all. I'll reserve my time for rebuttal if needed.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, as these applicants step away, if the opposition will come forward, I'll reset the clock. If you'll come forward, please, and just like the other cases, if you'll identify yourself with name and address, and then hello. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome.
Preston Hunt, I'm a resident of Donaldson. I live actually backed up to the property and wasn't able to, this is the third time I've shown here for this appeal meeting as it's been pushed, but not able to make it to the community meeting. So some of my questions were answered with some of these images here, but I just have to voice some opposition. Right across from the entry is the back of my home. It's Mary Oaks. It's as you saw, a subdivision. Right across the street from McGavock here is a wonderful Donaldson neighborhood, as is on the other side. The Aloft is right across the street here, right out of sight. It was built in my backyard 2 years ago. And it has been a complete nightmare for 2 years. An eyesore, trees fell in our yard while they were building it. The back of my house and the inside of my kitchen is illuminated blue at night from the lights. I have pictures. Noise complaints. I just think the spillage of these hotels off of Elm Hill onto McGavock into our neighborhood just threatens the character of the neighborhood. It's just any sort of approval of expansion in height or size, I just think I just have to voice some opposition to. Especially with the entrance in terms of traffic, the entrance being, again, spilling onto McGavock off of Elm Hill, which is where the rest of these, let's say, airport hotels are. We're just bleeding into our neighborhoods and just going to cause continual traffic issues, so.
Sir, just one clarification. You talked about that A-loft. Is that the?
That's it right there.
That's it right there. Okay.
Yes, so that was built, and Jeff Gregg and also our previous councilman know my name from it. So I push back as much as I can against that. But you can see it's literally backed up to our homes there. And the back of the hotel has spotlights on it. It illuminates half of the neighborhood. It's absolutely terrible. And obviously lowers the value of our homes. And this continuing in that side, we'll be sandwiched. We're illuminated by this side, and now we're going to be illuminated by this side as well. So again, the spilling off of Elm Hill into our neighborhoods needs to be tamed as much as possible, I would argue. So thank you.
Okay, board has no questions. The applicant will come back to the table, and we'll put 441. If there's anything you'd like to address on rebuttal.
Well, first, I did, for my notes, wanted to get the gentleman's name again. What was his last name? Mr. Hunt, okay. Thank you, Mr. Hunt. We wanted to say to Mr. Hunt while he's here, still listening, that, we would happily work with him as we move forward on this design, this project. I know photometric plans is going to be something Metro is going to require to make sure that we meet the standards about the lighting. It was a concern he mentioned. We're certainly going to have to meet those requirements as we move forward. This is zoned properly for hotel usage in that area, and given the footprint that we're allowed to have, we feel like we've tried to minimize our variance request before this body, before we came. We worked very diligently to do that, so we'll continue to do so to address any and all concerns we hear, especially Mr. Hunt's, now that we know is a close neighbor and he's between the two sites. His input will be sought as we move forward, and appreciate your consideration.
Okay, any additional questions from the board?
I have one additional question. So it looked at the larger zoning map that there is also, and this might be for Mr. Hargis, that there's also residential on, the north side of the property, and the south side would also be subject to the height control plane. So is that being broken in, we had the one section that kind of cut across the site in the creek. Is that height control plane getting broken in the other direction as well? And to what degree of nonconformity?
Well, we've shown the height control plan as it sits on the site, going to that side, and where you were 27 foot below the other three hotels in the area at the maximum height. So we feel like we've minimized that issue, and I don't know what further I could say other than we wanted to just, my client said, why didn't we go higher? And we said, because this is sufficient. This is where we feel comfortable stopping. We're well below other buildings in the area. We have a table on our plans that show the summary. There's at least 3 other hotels. But we're in the hotel corridor where we're zoned to be. And so there is residential nearby, and we'll be respectful of that and have landscaping and buffers in the project as we proceed. So we're mindful of the nearby residential, and design would proceed accordingly with that in mind. So,
Ms. Yoder, I can address your question as far as sky plane from north and south. They complied. from both Elm Hill and from the parcel line north. But due to the shape of that lot being longer left to right, they actually conform from those two directions.
Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and discuss.
Do we know the floor area ratio that's proposed?
I can get that for you. Yeah, if,
78% floor area ratio.
And the base zoning permits
3 to 1.
0.6?
No, 3 to 1 CL. Let me get that for you. Yeah, definitely no FAR issues, especially for our new members. That is something that cannot be appealed to the BZA. But let me get you the bulk regs. Yeah, it's
I think the transfer of the height plane towards the McGavock size, considering because of the limited by floodplain and floodway, the applicant cannot go behind the footprint. So in other words, kind of transferring that portion to front at much smaller scale. So I think that a calculation and transfer of the height is meet the variance to me. And as far as parking, considering the clientele coming from the airport, just happen to be outside of the UZO, that they cannot apply for the reduction of the parking. But considering the location and business, the reduction is reasonable to me. But I understand they have to work with the NDOT, in the process. But as far as the one presented in front of us, I would think it's meet all the variance requirements.
Yeah, Ms. Garrigan, your question, 0.6 is the FAR, and the square footage shown is the maximum square footage for that lot, 77,000 square feet. There's 3 parcels involved there. That's a little short of 3 acres, or right at 3 acres.
Okay, so the building size essentially, the stories were sized to max out FAR, is that?
Yeah, they're actually pretty short of FAR for this. Yeah, they're well inside 0.6.
I live in Donaldson, and I know this lot very well. Very rarely can I drive anywhere near it without my daughters making me go to the Dutch Bros across the street. I'm comfortable with the parking. I'm a civil engineer by trade, and I valet parked cars to pay for college. So I'm well aware that a valet lot can fit a lot more than a code compliant lot can. However, if we did move forward, I would like some sort of condition for valet, as well as to confirm that NDOT will study it further. I'm struggling with the height though, but I want to hear what everybody else thinks about that.
I actually am not struggling with the height, but I am struggling with the parking. Because, now you're right, a valet lot's different. I'm thinking about that area because there are a ton of hotels over there. There's Century, you got the post office over there. But if you get on Briley, you're gonna hit that particular area with the Dutch Brothers. There's not like a ton. Like you get on Briley to go down to Lebanon Road. They have all those restaurants now where the Publix complex is, or you can go to Opry Mills. I think, like, yes, people do use Uber, people do use Lyft, but you're also in the suburbs, right? And so it's a little bit further out. There's a reason why those adjustments don't apply. I'm not saying they don't deserve an adjustment because I do recognize the uniqueness of this lot, the floodplain, everything else. But if they're gonna, I missed the count, is it 130 or 135?
130.
So let's say your max capacity that day, you're banking on 40 people. Does that make sense? But I'm not an expert, so that's why I do think if we made it contingent on somebody who's smarter than me to do a review, I would feel more comfortable, because I'm not saying a reduction, but maybe they could get 10 more spots out of it. Does that make sense? So I don't know, but I'm still listening, because I definitely understand the concerns. And this is Donaldson, and there are a lot, this is like we do in Nashville. We've built so smartly. We put all of these like great neighborhoods around all of this like development. So there's always a balance, so.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the parking too, and if they had to add more parking, it would just increase the height of the building even more. So that's why I would just rely on that parking study to guide. That's where I am with it.
And I think, I know 20-ish, 25, 28 years ago, at Horseshoe Casino in Tunica, we had a map of how to double park, because if you get double parked, you're not having to wait for that person, that way when you go get the car that's on the inside, you get both keys, so you can move one, pull that one out. But I would want to ensure that is planned as part of the building and is adopted as part of the plan.
I think there are two things. I think the parking, I actually feel like this site could benefit from reduced parking in the transit line that's near there, but I have a hard time saying that without a parking analysis that has confirmed that. The height question for me, if we can pull up the section again, if the creek didn't exist, would the building as shown fit within the height control plane? Because in this section, even without the creek, that amount of height does not fit on the site. Now, there might be that amount of density could fit on the site within the pyramid if it was lower and more spread out. I completely agree that the creek is a very unique site. It's an interesting shape. It kind of checks a lot of the boxes. But without knowing for sure that height could fit in other portions of the site, if the creek couldn't exist, I have a hard time saying that that's the right number of stories.
The way I see it is because height is allowed to 13 stories, I believe, but they're proposing 10. No, 13. They're allowed to 13. And the maximum height is the pyramid point. And then outside of the pyramid, the gray square, that's the transfer of the height. So instead, because we require step back for each height goes up, so if they want to go to 13, they have to step back, step back, step back. So the top floor has to be literally triangle. So that's why, does it have like a negative benefit by allowing extra, square go outside of the triangle? That's how I see it. And I do not think requiring that step back and then make like a smaller triangle on top is impractical. So I think practical manner seems like allowing that extra outside of the triangle, it makes sense to me. So that's where I see it with this proposal. Since it is within, allowed height, if they are going above the height and then going over the allowed square footage, ratio, I would have, concern. But since their proposal is really within, what allowable, that's what I see as a trade-off.
Any motions or further discussion? Sounded like you had a start of a good one. Not to put you on the spot.
I think my colleagues have made me comfortable with the height. Based on the hardship of the stream and the stream buffer, the fact that if they did not exist, the building could fit within the sky plane and sprawl. I'm comfortable with making a recommendation of approval with the condition that the valet parking be a requirement and the valet parking plan be submitted to NDOT, and that photometric study be part of the building permit application. And happy to accept a friendly amendment if I missed anything.
Well, there's a motion. Is there a second on the motion?
I second.
Okay, and I have a discussion point. Did you mention parking study as well? Or is that part of the valet? Like a parking study to determine how many cars?
Sure. How about, along with the photometric study, that there be an official parking analysis as well as MMTA study to go through NDOT? And part of that study is to specify valet as the parking use and provide a layout of how that parking arrangement would take place.
So is that amended motion accepted? Yes, okay. So there's a motion, a second, and any further discussion? No, okay, all in favor, raise their hand. So we have 5 in favor. I don't see any opposed, so that passes.
All right, just for my clarification, that was the variance granted for both items? Both parking, okay. All right, thank you. All right, that case is approved on a vote of 5-0 with the conditions as stated. All right, Chair, the next case before the board is case 2026-56 on the middle of page 3. Thompson Burton is the appellant on behalf of the owners Marilyn and David Best at 1107B North 5th Street. They are seeking a variance from the rear setback requirements in an SP district. The applicant is seeking to construct a detached garage / daydo. Are the applicants present for this case? Okay, come forward, sir. Is there any opposition present to case 56? Seeing no hands, you'll have 5 minutes to present your case after I get done with my part. The subject property is located on North 5th Street here. This is the subject property is located right in here. This is in an SP zone district. As part of request or variance request in an SP, we send a transmittal to the planning department. I believe planning has commented. Christy, I didn't have that right in front of me, what they're. That's okay. The Planning Commission report for this one on North 5th Street. We don't typically get a lot of variances in an SP zone district, but when we do, we have to send these to the planning staff for a recommendation to our board. I think I recall seeing planning recommended approval of the case, but I'll pull that up while that's going through. This is the site plan submitted to the applicant. For the members of the board, the 2 additions shown to the home itself are not a part of this request. These are allowed by right, and permits will be issued accordingly. What is at issue is the 1,000 square foot dadu located at the back of the property. The Metro Council recently amended both the dadu section and the accessory structure section to allow larger dadus in zone districts and to permit dadus in zone districts that previously did not allow them. This SP allowed dadus previously before in this particular area, long before dadus were allowed anywhere else outside of the R districts. But so the use is fine. The issue is at 1,000 square foot, the setback required is a 20-foot rear setback. The council members like Ms. Carpenter has been here for a minute. We've gone from 576 square feet reduced setback to 700 square foot reduced setback, and now it's up to even 850 with the recent change. So 850 square foot buildings and smaller get a reduced setback in every zone district But anything over 800 requires a full setback. So in this case, it's a 20-foot full setback. They're proposing a 10-foot setback off the alley. I believe the garage doors are facing the alley. Is that correct, if I recall, on the elevation? And then a view sort of looking west to east on the property. You see other dadoos that were constructed in this area over time, and they are requesting to build one 10 foot off the back alley. So, all right, sir, there's no opposition present. You'll have 5 minutes to present your case to the board. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. And planning did recommend approval as submitted. So.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, board. Josh Lee here from Thompson Burton at 1801 West End, representing the owner here. You introduce yourself?
David Best, 1107 North 5th Street.
So thank you for a few minutes this afternoon. As Mr. Hargis said, this is a modest request. At 850 square feet, it can be built as of right. We're asking for it to be a little bit larger. The code section for variances, as well as the state law, allows for variances to be granted under exceptional circumstances, and that's what we feel is present here. And Mr. Hargis, if you would put up the photo of the yes, that photo is wonderful. As you can see, it was referenced before, this SP in particular was adopted specifically to allow dadoos. This is a small part of the neighborhood, but the rest of the neighborhood is very consistent. There are dadoos all along the neighborhood, very similar size. And, you know, in terms of kind of how it impacts the rest of the neighborhood, these dadoos face the alley. It's not a rear setback that's going up against an adjoining property owner. And if the variance was not granted and it was required to be constructed 20 feet back, a few things would happen. It would destroy the main area of the backyard of this property. So the geometry of the property is one of the issues. Alternatively, if it was built at 850 square feet, allowing it to be 10 feet back from the setback, then it would only fit 2 cars in the garage, which would require a 3rd car because it is a dadu with a tenant anticipated to park in between the alley and the garage. And so that's not consistent with the character of the neighborhood. And for those reasons, we would ask that the board use its discretion, find a modest hardship here to justify a modest variance. We're happy to answer questions, and obviously the property owner here as well.
I don't have any questions.
Does anyone else have a question? You do?
Could we see a GIS over aerial look?
And Mr. Lee, has that proposed addition happened yet? The one,
I believe it's going to be part of the overall construction project.
okay, so the proposed addition is also part of the reason to push this back. So listen, I live in this area. I'm very familiar with it. You are correct. There are a ton of dadoos. I don't know how many of these dadoos came to ask for 1,000 square feet. And then also to come closer to the alley line. So I don't see a hardship. These seem like choices. That's how I'm looking at it, just so you know. I haven't had to say it in a long time, and I'm going to say it now. Certain horses aren't made for certain courses. This is a great lot. It's in a great neighborhood. I think a dadu is perfectly great in this neighborhood and on this lot. I just think that we've made some choices, and we're asking for a variance, and I just don't see a hardship. I don't think this lot's any different than any other house on the street or any other lot that has a dadu.
If I may respond, just briefly.
Please, go ahead. I expected it. That's why I asked you the question.
I appreciate that very much. And we confirmed with Mr. Hargis, there's at least 1, maybe 2 or 3 other dadus with this amount of square feet built at 10 feet or less from the setback in this neighborhood. Additionally, the other construction that's shown here is by right. And so it is something that is considered to be. Thank you.
Yeah, If you look at the aerial that was there before, it looks to me like this lot is substantially wider than at least the ones on the other side of the alley. Is that correct?
I think it is, and along this street, there are several that are more narrow than this lot.
Yeah, that's, if you looked at all those datas, they seem to me to be one next. This one has a little bit more space, so I don't know that a larger, 1,000 square feet is going to look out of scale, if that makes sense.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay, anything else, or did we have opposition? I don't remember. No opposition?
No opposition, President.
Okay.
And I just, if you don't mind, point out that we did have a number of letters in support that are in your packet, and no letters of opposition as we've been informed.
Okay, no, thank you. And you have 7 seconds if you want to say anything else.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll close the public hearing. Okay, discussion.
I think looking at this lot, it is a very regular, very standard lot, and I also have a hard time seeing a hardship. Now, there might be other conversations that need to be had about if there are larger lots, maybe the zoning needs to accommodate, modifications, but I think at this point in time, given what the base zoning is, I have a hard time seeing how this doesn't set a standard for a lot of our other regular lots around time. So I have to agree, I don't see a hardship here that would lead me to want to accommodate an exception.
I agree with both of you that have stated that. We are really putting you all to the test.
Motion to disapprove.
I'll second the motion. So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion?
So just a clarification. So disapprove is, so I am leaning towards 10 foot is okay because it's a rhythm of the, that neighborhood. My hang up is the size. Size, why do we have to allow the enlarge? So what's got to do with the variance? So the motion to deny is denying both variance, rear setback and size. Just need a clarification.
I think yeah.
The size he's allowed to do. He just needs, so if he wanted to do an 850 square foot house, he wouldn't even have to come to us because then he could be 10 foot after the outage. Because he wants an 1,000 square foot, which he's allowed to do based off the square footage of his house. He can do 1,000 feet, but if he wants to do more than that, he has to come in further up the alley. So that's.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification, because they changed the, allowable square footage with the new bill and previous and so forth, and then depending on the lot size. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what is the allowed, size? So
I think he's allowed that size. That's not in front of us.
So that's, okay, I feel, I may misread. I thought it was both size and setback.
I thought it was just setback, but I could be wrong. We can ask the staff.
No,
It's just the
Just
rear.
the rear setback.
Thank you for.
And I was just going to ask for a clarification on the motion. Is that just due to a lack of hardship?
Yes.
I had a question about the SP throws the uniqueness in there. Do we analyze it any differently? I guess that's more of a legal question. It's the same as if it was RS5. We've got to find an obvious hardship.
Yeah, I don't believe that you analyze it in SP any differently.
Okay.
Okay, so we still have a motion, a second, and we're still in discussion. Is there any more discussion?
Yes, so.
Okay.
So now we understand the motion is to deny the rear setback. So just sake of argument, I just want to point out, because I understand the size is allowed, and then the established neighborhood in that section is pretty much 10 foot. If you see all the dadu surrounding neighborhood, that would be, looks to me, it's pretty much 10 feet. So if we do apply that law practically, seems like it kind of destroy the rhythm of the neighborhood. That would be my opinion I want to point out, because it's already, the do has been there before council member finally landed on the setback and size and uniformly what the DADU is supposed to be. Prior to that, there was all over the map. So now, if they are meeting the size, I think because of this established neighborhood, literally applying the law will rather harm the rhythm of the neighborhood. So with that point, I'm kind of leaning towards the opposite of the motion.
Oh, no, that's fine. So let's, unless there's more discussion on the motion, let's vote on the motion. So all in favor of the motion, raise their hand. So 3 in favor, all those opposed, 2 opposed, so that does not pass, so we'll need a new motion.
No, actually,
Or-
you've got a motion on the table. This is a tie vote. So by your rules, the vote of 3-2 currently stands. This case will stay on our agenda for the next 30 days, excuse me. So this will be back on our agenda next meeting on the 21st of May. The 2 members who are not present are allowed to watch today's proceedings and become eligible and then vote. If both participate and vote, the tie will be broken one way or the other. But with that, the public hearing is closed, so no new evidence can be submitted by the party. And this case will stay on our agenda at the next meeting with the current motion to deny on a vote of 3-2. Mr. Garrigan, Ms. Johnson are opposed to the motion. Okay.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute break.
Okay, board will stand in recess for 5 minutes. We'll be back in just a moment. back in session, and the next case before us will be case, and appears to be our final case. Oh, the case on, I was just talking with Mr. Wilson, the applicant on case 67. He'd like to postpone for one meeting to meet with NDOT on site, and I told him if he has issues with I'll go meet with him and NDOT, and three of us will sit and talk about NDOT's issues with the fence. But Mr. Wilson, and we'd like to push that to the 21st agenda, 2 weeks from today. Of May. Yep, this month, 2 weeks. The scary part is I don't like coffee. Coffee's gross to me, but, yeah. But I think since we're into the meeting, if we could get a motion in a second to defer till May 21st.
That we defer case 2026-066 until the May 21st meeting.
67.
67, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, there's a motion, a second on the motion? I'll second, second on the motion. Any discussion? All in favor, raise their hand. We've got 5 in favor, 0 opposed, so it passes.
All right, we'll enter an appropriate order, and Mr. Wilson, I told him he was just for y'all's purpose, he was not aware of NDOT's comments, and they came, to be fair to him, they did come a little bit later than we would like, so. Okay, our final case of the day is on page 5, the bottom page 5, case 2026-64. There is opposition present, so I'll reset the clock for 10 minutes. Gabriel Ishii von Meier is the appellant, Charles and Gregory Smith and Virginia Abernathy, the owners of the property at 203 Rolling Fork Court. They are requesting a variance in the street setback requirements in the RS40 zone district. The appellant is seeking to construct a new single-family residence. So we have the applicants at the table first. There is opposition. I'll remind both parties, the applicant, you've got 10 minutes to present opposition. You've actually got 9:26, given the councilman's deduction there at the first part of it. So he was nice enough not to take your entire allotment, but he did grab a little bit of your time. So we'll put that time up when it comes. Okay, first let me tell the board what you're here for. You are here for a street setback variance based upon the, and I'm gonna pull up the GIS maps too, by the way. Give me just one moment. I'll flip between these two. Okay. Oops. Okay, that subject parcel that I've highlighted kind of in green is the subject lot. And that's going to disappear in just a second. But this is our subject lot. The setbacks are determined based upon a contextual average of the 4 closest residences in this cul-de-sac. That measurement, based upon a surveyor, comes out to be 88.28 feet. And the applicant is proposing to have a 75-foot setback. This 75 feet is actually the setback listed on the plat for the subdivision when it was recorded originally. The zoning code has changed often since that happened back in those days. So the zoning code, now the setbacks are the greater of one of these 3 numbers. 1, the table in the zoning code, which in this zone district would only be 40 feet. 2, the platted setback line, if any, shown on a recorded plat with the Register of Deeds office, that's 75 feet. Or 3, the average setback of the 4 closest homes in that cul-de-sac. So in this, once all that math's done, the larger of those 3 measurements is the contextual setback at 88.28 feet. And the applicant is proposing a 75-foot setback. You see the 15-foot side yard building setback lines are shown on the plan. There's a 20-foot rear setback. And as you know, the steep topography on the lot. So there's the building footprint, proposed driveway cut, And then we'll go to a ground shot. Looking, when I visited the site on April the 20th, that was the state of the lot then. This is a view of the home immediately to the, I guess it would be south or to my left, looking at the subject lots just over to the right. And then a view looking back out of the cul-de-sac. And then I'll pull up the parcel viewer map for you. And I struggle when I pull it over there because I can't see any of that from my location. So I'm happy to turn the aerials back on if you need them, but the base map is what I'll leave. Here we go. Okay. And again, the subject lot is this parcel right here.
It's to the left.
Oh, to the left, I'm sorry. Right.
That's it.
Right there. And that photograph that you saw of the home in my pictures was that home located right there. All right, with that, I'll turn it over to you, sir. You'll have 10 minutes to present your testimony. You will probably most likely want to save some of that for rebuttal testimony, but if you would please, and the other folks at the table, if you'll identify yourselves with your name and address, and then I'll start the clock once you start your testimony.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Thank you all for being here. My name is Gabriel Meier. I live at 2200 Batavia Street, Nashville 37208.
I'm Greg Smith. I'm one of the co-owners of the property in question.
I'm Virginia Abernethy. A co-owner of the property.
So as Mr. Hargis said, we're requesting a front setback variance from the contextual of 88.28 feet to the 75-foot plat minimum. So 13.28 feet of relief for the purpose of building a single-family home on this property. The clear hardship here is the topography of the lot. So as shown in the exhibit, and we could also turn on the contour elevations here on the parcel viewer, the rear of the property there, it quickly transitions into a very steep slope, going up to 40 to 50% in the steepest portions. And that buildable area is sitting right at the edge of that condition. So if we're required to meet the full contextual setback of 88.28, it pushes the home directly into those steep slopes. And that would require significant grading, rock cutting, and retaining walls, which would increase the construction intensity, cost, and neighborhood disruption, ironically. So by shifting that home forward to the 75-foot setback, which is still a substantial front setback, as Mr. Hargis said, is substantially more than the zoning requirement of 40, and is consistent with underlying zoning. We can build on the only reasonably developable portion of that lot, which is that tabletop, and we can avoid disturbing that slope entirely. It's not a self-imposed hardship. It's a natural condition unique to this property, having that topography. The request is minimal. We're not asking for anything beyond the base setback requirement. And importantly, approving this would actually reduce impact on the neighbors because it's going to be less rock hammering, less construction noise, and less risk of drainage and slope issues if we stay off of that steep slope. It's a limited, reasonable request driven by the site constraints, and it allows us to build safely while staying consistent with the zoning code. Thank you.
And what is the building footprint?
It's approximately 2,500 feet. I should have brought the plans. It's somewhere in the neighborhood. If you include the patio and the backyard area, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,500 feet. The total finished square footage, it's a 2.5-story home, and the total square footage is 4,910. So the footprint's approximately 25, we'll say.
Any questions from the board? Okay, you'll have time for rebuttal, but would you
Looks
like
I'll
to
need
say
it.
anything else before the opposition comes up?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, that will do it for the applicant, and all right, if those parties opposed to the case would like to come forward, I've got 4 seats at the table. 3 microphones. When you come up, there's a little button dead center of this base that says push. Hit that button, there will be a little green light that pops up in front of you, and once that light's on, if you'll give your name and address and begin your testimony.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Chu. I live at 200 Rolling Fork Court, which is a property adjacent to the lot in question.
I'm Jacob Underwood. I have 201 Rolling Fork. I'm that house in the center between those 2 lots that are owned by Greg.
Good afternoon. My name is Gordon Chenery. I live at 207 Rolling Fork Court with my wife Pamela, and this is 2 doors down. My brother-in-law is in attendance here. He lives at 205.
My name's Rebecca Eaton. I live at 204 Rolling Fork Court, which is almost directly across. My name's Rebecca Eaton, 204 Rolling Fork Court.
Could I ask you please to turn on the parcel viewer? In 1986, we bought 5 acres and Metro divided it into 2 for us. You can see the driveway starts off on the property and it goes toward the the 203 property. It comes very close to that property line before it takes its sharp turn. Right there at the turn, the slope is so steep that when it's raining, it's hard to get up the driveway in some cars or pickup trucks. The very idea that this house could be put where they want to put it without disturbing that hillside and basically destroying my driveway is, without question, a hard thing to do. I've talked to a surveyor, and he said, given the site and the plans, he doesn't see that it's possible to do that, to put it in without disrupting the driveway.
I purchased my house 3 years ago, my wife, from Greg, and at the time, it was 6 acres. All 3 of these lots were owned by the same people who built my house back in 1995. They didn't give any consideration to the lot lines at the time, so they built my house going over the lines now. When Greg owned these 3 lots for a few years, he had all the time in the world to do a lot line adjustment, but he didn't. And in fact, when I got the keys to my house June 9th, 3 years ago, he said to me that he got it. He didn't have time to get the lot lines adjusted before he got a preview back that said that where they're trying to put this house right now is a flood zone, in his words, and that he could only build 2 homes at the top of the hill in the acre that he just sold me. So he was trying to do a barter deal to widen my lots because my house at these current lots, the way they cut it back, the city has cut it back, runs through my driveway, through my gutters, through my house, my AC units, my generator, my retaining wall, my back porch, barbecue. These lot lines cut right through my house. So I can't even enter my backyard without entering Greg's yard. That being said, the amount of water control that I've had to put into this house in the last 3 years, spending over 80 grand to try and keep these moats, these 10 waterfalls, I'm talking 30 plus streams that shoot out of this mountain, moating around my house. I've had to tear out the entire addition, all the way down to the I-joist, which was rotting from all this water damage that comes off of this hill, just to try and save the house that I purchased from Greg 3 years ago. My house was built to function, to dump water into these basins on each side. I think he's right. I didn't realize it at the time, but they definitely are flood zone. I sent videos in of these 5 waterfalls all joining at the bottom of this basin, filling up with 3 inches of water. And in fact, the 2 places at the top of the mountain to build homes might be the only place. If there is a hardship, it's that he owned these properties for 3 years, never did the lot line adjustment, and only after selling it to me is trying to have somebody build that is what's functionally a water basin for this entire hollow in this community.
The legal justifications needed in order to qualify for a variance are not present here. The zoning code is clear. An appellant has the burden of demonstrating that you meet the standards for a variance under Metro Code Section 1740-370, including showing the requisite physical characteristics, that the hardship is not self-imposed, financial gain is not the only basis, and that there would be no injury to neighboring property. The lot's constraints, if any, do not arise from an unusual physical characteristic unique to this parcel. They reflect the applicant's desire to construct an oversized structure, approximately 4,900 square feet, on a lot with naturally wet conditions and documented floodplain characteristics. The decision to acquire a flood-prone lot with spring features and to then propose a large footprint residence pushed to the property line is not a hardship imposed by the zoning code. It is a consequence of the applicant's own planning choices. Self-imposed hardship cannot sustain a variance under Metro law. There has been a voiced intent that this development is for financial gain, and the code is explicit. Financial gain cannot be the sole basis for granting the variance. Lastly, this development would cause immense damage to the neighboring properties. Construction on a naturally wet lot with active spring features without the buffer that standard setbacks provide create a direct and foreseeable risk of drainage and runoff to the adjacent properties. There is documented evidence of significant runoff challenges as described by Jacob, and the developer presents a high risk of damage to the two neighboring driveways, which are likely to suffer significant damage due to water flow and the structural weakening of the lot's ground soil. This is the exact fact pattern the zoning restrictions seek to prevent. For these reasons, I urge the council to reject the variance.
Can I lastly add that this lot line runs through my driveway and retaining wall and canals that dump water into this lot. It was already, built and planned that way. So I'm not sure how anybody could build up to these lines without continuing my driveway from sagging like it already has been from the underground water flow that we're trying to control. And I guess I'm open for questions.
So I will just, I'll just end by saying that I've collected 41 names from almost everybody on Rolling Fork Court, many people on Rolling Fork Drive, all of us in opposition for flooding concerns, concern about a wildlife corridor, concern about tree cutting, but primarily, that we're being asked, as Cynthia said, you're being asked to approve something that where all the other houses have been able to build under the current requirements. Doesn't seem really like that there is a hardship, a demonstrable hardship.
So I want you guys to think about what you guys have said. Everybody has talked about flooding, right? And how like, we're seeing the pictures, how like, there's a lot of trees, there's a lot of slopes, right? By the very nature of the slopes and the flooding and everything else, that suggests that there might be a hardship. So I guess what I would be interested in is what does the opposition, like, let's say they build something, what would you guys like to see? Like, what would answer your opposition? Because it sounds, that's my question, because there is, like, looking at it just from, like, it's on a slope, they mentioned that it was on a slope, they talked about the flooding. So what would you guys, as a balance to, you guys have talked a lot about, like, damage to neighboring property, so, like, what would be the balance?
Have they done any kind of survey, like study that says that they're, putting a lot of impermeable structure, which I think he said is 4,500 square feet, basically at the level where most of the flooding happens? Has there been a study that's been done that's been shown that they're making some kind of, I would ask for that.
Yeah, we laughed at the advertisement because I think it was obvious that this was a tricky lot. He admitted that he didn't get the lot lines adjusted and that he needed the back half to build two homes. He still could build one home from what he's told me at the top of this hill. But the basin was told to me it was a flood zone, and I didn't know it until I saw it firsthand. When you see the Zillow ad, it advertised build a deer stand to hunt in the city, which I kindly asked to take down because my daughters play right there, and I thought it was kind of weird to advertise somebody hunting right there in the city, or build a tree house, a magical tree house. I think it was obvious that they knew that this was not going to be a place to build a almost 5,000 square foot home. I think that was obvious in their ad.
So the lot line issue is not here before us today. That's a separate issue. And if this were to be approved, all the drawings would have to go to Metro Stormwater. Actually, let me verify that. I'm sure it will have to go to Metro Stormwater. So they would work with the applicant for them to design something that would mitigate stormwater issues on other properties. So there is a level of expertise that will come into play. If this is approved and they go forward and try to get a building permit, they'll need the grading permit. So there would be some level of expertise looking at that.
Yeah, and that, I had spoken to them about it because they said they don't track underground springs. So I had to send the videos that I had put in the email to show the amount of springs, because it's not 5. We counted on my property, my daughter and I counted 30 before we were like, oh, it's not a thing. They're just everywhere. And these all come down and join into around 10 waterfalls that flood. So it is magical. It's very expensive to try and control. I've told Stormwater and I've told everybody here the whole time, I've been fighting this water issue since I moved in. I've been doing nothing but tearing this house down, trying to control all the cracked, dilapidated things that they had built over the years that tried to control the water, the things that weren't permitted that they added, that, you know, adding a room on a retaining wall, having that wall leak through the floor joist and collapsing on us within 3 months of moving into the house. It's not a little bit of water. And we are at a little bit of a ledge there. If you look to the right at this picture, it goes very steep off down to, 6+ feet, 8 feet down to a basin. And on the other side, it goes down to a canyon. And my water flow around the house like a moat and dumps into these. That's how this house was built when it owned all 6, up until I just bought it, is when he split it off. So it's hard for me to go through all the financial hardships we just did with my family, spending all the money we could to buy the house, not having the money that we needed to repair this house, not knowing we needed that kind of money. And then to have somebody not just build a home, but try to maximize the square footage in this water basin and telling me that the only plan is to go higher up the mountain to build retaining walls to then just send it back where?
Okay, is there any, board members have any questions?
Yeah, I wanted to try to confirm a few things. So we're looking at your residence right now, and the subject lot is to the right.
Correct.
Is that correct? And the shared lot line, everything you were referencing, that's the lot line that's
Because
of
this
issue.
is the lot line the lot in reference. Now, he owns both. If you're looking at this house, the one on the left cuts through my living room and back patio and retaining wall and all that. The one on the right starts on my driveway. And as the driveway kind of bows up and then around, it starts on my driveway, it goes off my driveway, and then as it gets up to my retaining wall, it cuts off that whole ledge and retaining wall and those gutters as well, yeah. So again, that hill that is there, I had to put there as support because the driveway sagged so much, there was a gap between the dirt and the driveway, and delivery drivers kept driving off the edge. We've had to pull out FedEx, UPS, getting stuck on this. And I only say the lot line issue because with all that water and with a lot line already on my driveway, where's that water gonna go safely, if not towards the hill that my driveway rests on?
And there's no doubt that I can tell by looking at this picture, there's a lot of water coming down that hill, and I'm sure it's popping out in different locations. Would you say if I'm facing your house, the back left corner is where they're converging?
If you're looking at my house from the street,
Mm-hmm.
no, I thought that originally because the house was built with a deck and this big waterfall that went under the deck. So they kind of like focused as that was the main piece. After peeling the mountain back because we had to tear down everything, we realized that the right side of the house actually has the most waterfalls. There's like 5 or 6 when it starts raining. So the left side of the house has 2 that shoot around and dump into the left. The right side, on my property, I have a video of at least 6 that fall off of that hill. They land on a sloped rock and they hit the gutters that are naturally through the rocks and they splash down into that pad. But if you were to swing the camera from my lot to their lot, you're counting my 6 that go right and then another 5 at least on that property that all converge at the bottom of this basin. And it's beautiful. That was the first thing I said. It's beautiful. It's very expensive and I don't see how you're going to control it.
Madam Chair, so is there any other person who will be speaking or just 4 of you will be speaking? So my question to whomever speaking come to here will be, because issue front of us is literally front setback. So this applicant is asking reducing the front setback from 88 point change to 75 feet. So what we would like to hear is granting extra 13 feet will cause you any harm or in that regard. That what we'll be interested here, because that's the limited authority we are granted to this body. So if anybody can speak on that regard, we would love to hear from you.
We all built according to the setback lines we were given, and the neighborhood reflects that. Building a house this close to the street would basically destroy the integrity of the street itself.
And what about your driveway?
And I'm assuming I'm going to have to get an injunction to keep them from touching the ground close to my driveway if I don't get success here. Because I can't have an opportunity. I can't give them the opportunity to keep access from our two homes at the top of the hill.
And the driveway, you're to the right.
Yes.
If I'm facing the lot, and it's the bend in the driveway, is that correct?
And before you, so you get up about halfway toward toward the curve right there, when the building begins and that slope begins to be torn down, then all of the ground that my driveway sits on will go down the hill.
But you understand that his variance request is to be further from your driveway and further from the slope. If he were to comply with the code, he would be further back, creating more disturbance and be closer to your driveway, right? I'm understanding that correctly, am I?
That's how I understood it.
From my understanding, it's not that it's impossible to build on the ridge, which would be within the property. It's that the applicant is saying that they want to build closer and they want to reduce setback for that reason. Not that it would be impossible. And
From my understanding, and the applicant will come back, and is that the applicant understands that there's a slope, that there's flooding issues, and he's trying to move away from that to not disturb that as much and come closer. That's how I understood it, and he's trying to come closer. But under law, if they didn't come here today, they could build today and build it 88 feet back. They came here today because they don't want to build it 88 feet back because of that slope. They want to come up about 13 feet closer so that they don't disrupt that as much.
I don't think that at all. I don't think they can build on that lot as it is.
I mean, I understand that. I don't know. Like, listen, I don't build. I'm just telling you that's what their request is. That's what they presented to us.
The lots that the markers that I've seen them set on my property and my driveway, so I'm having to say, like, what is this? Okay, this is the lot line. This is where they want the house. I've seen where they want to put the house as, the marker. And I'm telling you, there's no way for the water to fit. They have not seen it. They've only had this under contract for months. We have not had rains like Nashville typically has in the last couple of months. That's why I had video to show people. And I took these videos over the last few years because of the damage that I'm trying to control. Not to stop anybody from making money. I don't, Greg owns this property. Greg wants to do whatever he wants to do with this property. That's okay. But what I'm telling you is the house they're trying to build and the way they're trying to build it is putting my property in jeopardy after spending all this money trying to control the water. So setback or not, the water on this lot makes this lot a hardship. But that's a hardship that was self-induced because he owned all 6 acres. He could have adjusted the lines and widened the property and put these basins in my house and had the top of the hill be his to build. This is an afterthought because they realized this is a hard thing. He's hoping that some builder just throws a bunch of money at it and they scrape away a mountain, but this builder has not been there. They have not even seen my videos. I'm trying to save them a bunch of money to say, look, you want to build a little retreat on stilts? By all means, treehouse, by all means. It's not my property to control. But what I'm telling you is, this is more water than I've ever seen come down a hill. Those pictures will never give it justice of how steep these hills are unless you go there and see these waterfalls for yourself. So you guys want to take the risk, by all means, but I can't control what somebody does with their property. What I can control, though, is them just going back and sending the water right back down to the problem I just fixed over the last 3 years. I'm still trying to fix.
And that's what the Metro Stormwater Department would help with. They wouldn't approve something that would send water onto your property. Am I misspeaking? No. So in a way, if this was approved, it could maybe help your property.
Let's, if I might say, let's say that you approve and it goes forward. We can't wait for Metro Stormwater to say whether they are going to approve the building or not if he starts tearing down the trees tomorrow.
Oh, I don't, is a permit required to tear down trees? Wouldn't the urban forester be?
Not for a residential. I mean, there's some required tied to a grading permit, but typically for 1 and 2 family, there's not a permit required to remove trees.
So anyone, they can remove trees at any time?
Their plan is to start tomorrow.
So we could make a condition, as one of our board members mentioned, if this was to be approved, to not tear down the trees.
I mean, to be fair, normally when we look at these, we have plans. We normally don't approve a variance without a plan. So we don't have any plans. I will say that. I will say, so from my perspective, we typically don't approve something like this without seeing the plans. We don't have plans here today. That's typically a reason, if the board decided to defer it. But I'm not speaking for everybody else, and I haven't decided that. I'm just throwing that out there. But from my perspective, typically, this is most of the time when people ask to come to change like the context line or the variance, it's big. We normally see 20, 30, 40, 50 feet. This one is fairly modest, but given the neighborhood opposition and the uniqueness of this area with all of the trees and the hills and the water, I think we should have a little bit more information just so that I could decide appropriate conditions, because at this point, I don't have that. Does that make sense? But I'm still thinking, I'm just speaking for myself, but as I listen, this is a pretty modest request, but also this area is unique. This lot is unique, and from all the testimony we've heard, so. I'm gonna go back on mute.
You triggered something there. I'd like to see a grading plan. I'd like to see a grading plan with field run topography and not Metro GIS topography. It's great, it's a handy tool, but it doesn't show things like the tightness of property lines and things of that nature.
Something more than, I mean, you're saying a worked out plan.
The
something more than
topography
what
on
is-
the exhibit appears to me to be Metro GIS.
Oh, that exhibit,
The telltale is the 5-foot contours. Maybe I'm incorrect, and it doesn't show proposed grading either.
No, true.
And I would also like that, and I think it would help the applicant's case to show limits of disturbance documented on the proposed grading plan and perhaps an exhibit of meeting code with the limits of disturbance to show that, I mean, I understand the opposition but it's coming from we don't want anything here, and if it's a legally platted lot, it can have a house. So the question to me then is this, the only question before us is should the setback be allowed or setback variance be allowed? And as a civil engineer, I'm seeing the setback variance helping to alleviate the concerns and not adding to them. I'm not saying they're completely gone. They're there no matter what. But scooting it closer to the road, limiting the disturbance into the hillside, any blasting or hoe ramming, things like that is what makes springs pop up.
They're already popped up.
Madam
More
Chair?
springs
Yeah,
popped up.
We are still in the public hearing, correct?
We are in
So
the
maybe
public
we should we hear from opposition statement, and then we will need to hear from applicant as well.
I agree. You're on such a good roll, I didn't want to cut it off. But is there a question out of that for them that you'd like to ask?
There's not.
Okay, no, and thanks for all your comments. And is there any further questions? And are there any further statements?
Yeah, come on forward.
I live catty corner to another
Hey,
property.
We need your name and
Just one
address.
moment. For the folks at the table, if you don't mind, let's give this nice lady a place to sit. Anybody else wishing to address the board, come on forward at this time.
I'm Catherine Witten. I live catty corner to a property that the developer is working on right now.
What's the address?
6525 Rolling Fork Drive. And he has clear-cut thousands of years of old hardwood trees on a very, very steep lot. And we're just waiting for the aftermath to happen. He's got excavators out there constantly on this alluvial soil. It looks like he's playing in a sandbox. And our street has been affected by landslides over the years. My personal property was affected. My neighbor's yard came into my yard. So we're all very concerned about that, and especially the no regard for the trees, and just, they're imperative to keeping these hills up and going. Thank you.
Hello, Tim Lorsch, 6566 Rolling Fork Drive. I live around the corner from this. You know, you talk about what Metro does and how stormwater works. On the next ridge over, 6680 Jocelyn Hollow Road, the developer went in there, same thing, end of the road. You know, all the low-hanging fruit is gone in our neighborhood. In order to build in our neighborhood now, you're building on really iffy stuff. But anyway, built up there, unbelievable water came down. Metro spent, I don't know how much, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars on Hathaway Court, 2/10 of a mile down Rolling Fork Drive, where there's actually, Hathaway Court actually has a waterfall on it. It's a waterfall protected property. So they built all this infrastructure, new culverts across the road, down through the neighbor's property to join Jocelyn Hollow Creek. Guy builds on the end there, and so Metro's, code, put up the little things. And like a few days after Metro finished, it totally filled up the culvert with runoff because this, once again, 6680, he was building in a spring. Now, I don't know what's happened. I think Metro finally shut him down because nothing's happening up there, and no more construction's happening. So, I mean, what are we to, like when you say, hey, if we go, he can just build tomorrow. I mean, that's not really very helpful. Metro Water takes forever to go. So whatever you can do to make sure Metro Water is involved before anything happens on this property, that would be extremely helpful to us. Because, yes, it's his property. Like we can all say it probably should never been subdivided in the first place. And Mr. Smith is the owner there. He's the one who kind of did all this stuff. So is it really a hardship? I mean, he's trying to sell the property, and probably the builder here is probably going to do it.
My name is Cameron Chandler, and I just want to bring it back to the variance that we're talking about here.
Excuse me, Ms. Chandler, where do you live?
201 Rolling Fork Court, next door. They want a shorter driveway to build a bigger house. That's what this is about. That's going to redirect all the water where the house is. The shorter driveway is all about greed. This is a money grab. That's, if you want my opinion on why they shouldn't get a shorter driveway, it's because they just want to build a McMansion where it shouldn't happen.
Hi, my name's Kim Matthews. I live at 145 Jocelyn Hills Drive. And I wish I had spoken a long time ago when neighbors purchased first 17 acres and then added and built a house. And I guess I had an opportunity to come here and didn't. And that house has been abandoned. It's a, 10,000 square foot house. It's on Jocelyn Hills. I'm assuming they came here and got permission. They have all the wells. Just to say that we've been watching all this and we haven't been able to stop any of it. And it has been big developers who just come in. They don't live in our neighborhood. They don't care about the quality of our neighborhood.
Thank you. The time ran out.
Yeah.
But we might ask some questions. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, there are no questions. So thank you all.
All righty. There was a comment mentioned about another site. I'm not, I think that the person on the opposition might have been mistaken, or it sounded like they were saying that we had developed another site, but we don't currently have any other projects in that area. So I'm not sure entirely what they were talking about there, but just want to say for the record that my company hasn't cleared trees off of any sites anywhere near there, so there's maybe a mistake there. I don't know if they were talking about the owners. I did just send the, I was gonna send the site plan here to, let's see here, I just sent it to Mr. Hargis. This is a draft site plan. So, changes could still be made to it, but again, you can pretty clearly see there that, pushing this is with the 75 foot. If we pushed it any further back, it would disturb the slope, more, as I think has been pointed out a lot. I think I'll probably stop there and open it for any questions, or we could pull up the site plan and have a look at that.
Might take a bit to get the site plan opened. So are there any questions while we're waiting?
What is the plan for the back of the property?
Well, it helped if I had the picture there, but essentially, we're gonna do a retaining wall, a step retaining wall, and then there's gonna be a French drain taking the water. There is a stormwater at the road. There's a stormwater ditch, and so the idea is to, obviously, we have to do all the normal stormwater control measures. I think there's some MFDs as well as probably a, what do you call it when you put the tree in the
Rain garden.
That's it, rain garden, yeah.
I meant more for the 80% of the land that's in the steep slopes. Is it to?
Don't touch it. That's the plan. Why would I want to touch it?
So if this were to be approved with a condition that a strict line limit of disturbance be established?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we have no interest. I mean, that's the whole point of this, of asking for this variance, is we don't want to touch the slope. We don't want to beat rock. We don't have to. We don't want to cut down trees. We don't have to. There's, 5 to 10 trees in the footprint of the house that would have to be cut down. And aside from that, there's no benefit to anyone to do that, to disturb the slope more than we have to. And there certainly wouldn't be any financial benefit to anyone, let alone,
Has there been any analysis done with a civil engineer or other
Absolutely.
partners to prove that the site sitting in this location creates less disturbance to the neighbors or doesn't increase the disturbance to the neighbors versus where it would sit under the contextual setback?
We do have civil, structural, geotech, all work on the projects. A specific, document saying that, proving that setting it further back wouldn't be worse, no. I think we assumed that, looking at the topography, that it was kind of obvious that getting off of the slope would be better, and, we're beating less rock, we're cutting the slope less, and there's less need for retaining walls. But no, I don't have a proposal or a document that says from one of the engineers that are on our staff saying that, no.
I think we're still waiting on the site plan. Okay, it's taking a while. The internet here is not very good.
Yeah, there's some proposed stormwater control measures in there, and you can see the existing grade and proposed grade on that one right there. And so again, this is assuming the plat minimum setback of 75. If we went up to 88, we'd be pushed further in. I mean, I think if anything, this would probably show that, more relief would be better than less. I think pushing us even further forward might make more sense than 75. But we want to, be modest and ask for the plat minimum.
Seems to me it's graded that the water will remain on the site.
Yeah, it's a little bit different from where you would normally hear stormwater concerns too, because it's downhill of just about everybody. It's the basin. It's not draining into the basin. I don't see anything that gives me any pause. I mean, they're working with the topography as opposed to against it, and they are minimizing the disturbance. And I don't disagree with anything that you said, but sometimes, you know, as a builder or an architect or an engineer, we think that everybody else thinks the same way that we're thinking. And I do think it would benefit you to kind of have a plan that says, this is my, you know, not as detailed as this, but here's a by right plan, and you can see it pushes back into this hill. It causes this retaining wall, because there's going to be another retaining wall if you did that, and it causes this many more trees, and you know, that sort of thing. That's just to show as a comparison, because as what's been stated, we're here to look at the setback request and make a determination whether or not that's going to have an adverse impact. And I'll be quiet now and listen to you guys.
Well, we appreciate your input. I was
Can
going to,
Hearing's still open, correct?
yes, the hearing is still open. I just had a question about, and could we zoom in a little bit, just for my curiosity? What are the, they're shaded as a dark gray with circles? What are those, what is that?
It's a stormwater control measure, I believe.
I was trying to,
Yeah.
So if I may say one thing, we have not seen this plan until today. So I really don't like to gauge this before we had thorough review. So that's my one complaint about this. And also, so before we go any further, kind of saying input to the plan, I just want to kind of voice my objection to kind of determine with this on the fly.
okay, any questions for the applicant? Okay, any thing you would like to add before we close?
I think this has been said multiple times, but approval of this, we're moving it 13 feet closer, regardless of the site plan. That's just less excavation. It's less environmental disturbance. I think it's moving it forward is the right direction. It's modest, it's code aligned, and it's the minimum that our engineers have found is necessary for safe construction. I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. We'll close the public hearing and discussion.
So I just want to state, this is the area I used to represent. So I do know both sides of the neighbors, but I believe I can engage in non-partisan way. So one thing I want to state is why, you know, my colleague sitting right next to me very wisely said, because each area is different. You know, if you take a look at the topography, it may seem only 13 feet, but each area is different based on the plan. When, you know, the person comes with the plan has to have a site-specific plan to, for us to feel comfortable granting variance, if this is the best plan for the site. and what's the nature of the hardship might be to properly gauge. So just looking at this plan, and I understand the applicant has plan, but we have not had a chance to gauge that plan. Especially, my most concern is the grading, because this is an infill plan. So it's not like, a multi-housing plan. The codes department has not really thorough or really heavy-duty grading plan requirement assessment. So with this really steep water intrusion is really remarkable, especially after rain. So that's why they do have like a West Mead waterfall at the end of the cul-de-sac. And because of the soil, land, rock, it has like a unique making of the property. So I would love to see more detailed plan before we can gauge. So I understand development team already submitted the plan to Joey. So I'm not comfortable gauging today. So if it's, my preference will be defer until we have a plan, we have a chance to see the plan and gauge of that site. That would be my preference.
Any other comments? Would you like to make a motion?
So I will try. I make motion to defer this case until next meeting.
There's a motion. Any seconds on the motion?
I'll second.
I was gonna second. And maybe, I'm still processing, but I definitely think, anytime you have this much neighborhood opposition, to the extent you can give more information than less, I think, I can't say your last name correctly yet, but I think our new member said it well first, how, you look at this, from your perspective, it's hey, this makes sense, and then we can't resolve everybody's perspective. The only thing we can do is look at the information given and then look at this from the request that it is. And I'm sorry, I think my blood sugar's low, but anyway, but typically a street setback request is a pretty straightforward thing, but to Mina's point is that because this area is so unique that maybe a little bit more information is warranted because it is a unique area and, you don't want to, something that seems small to us maybe has a bigger impact than we realize, so.
Yeah, I would like to just also add that I would love to see more detail and information, maybe in addition to the plans that were submitted. I think additional time to review, but also, theoretically, the thought of this moving closer to the street could reduce impact, but the burden is on the applicant to prove that this is, not negatively impacting the neighborhood because of this change. So I'd love to add as much detail as you can give us, I think would be helpful. And want to also second Ashanti's point earlier, the case before us is the setback. And because of the topography and the water and things like that, there could be a reason for hardship here. But we just, I think at this point in time, need more detail.
Anna said it best. You do have some testimony from some of your neighbors. I think the two beside you are probably the most, the young man that spoke about his house and then the other neighbor who talked about his driveway. So to the extent that you can show hey, we're not gonna injure that, I know you can't do everything in 2 weeks, but to the extent you can give us some more information about whether or not that will impact their properties, because those two are probably they're the closest to it, and so we tend to listen to their testimony. So I just want to give you that as a heads up.
Okay, so we're on the motion and the second and the discussion. Was there any further discussion before we vote? Okay, so all in favor of the motion, raise their hand. So we have 5 in favor. I don't see any opposed, so that'll be deferred one meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, members, I believe that concludes our business for today. We'll be adjourned.
Thank you.